Why is Elon Musk talking about Chris Howe? Better yet, why is Chris Howe switching cameras? It's not April 1st.
Ooh, traitor.
How much you want to bet it's one of these?
Who the f is Chris Howe? How is that even news?
It's true. What you've read in the tabloids, I can confirm. Lucas, I want to seize the baby. This is the Lumix S5, and this is the camera that I'll be using on this channel for the next 3 months. The reason why I'm switching to this camera is because I'm starting a 3-month project with Lumix where I'll be using the S5 to be shooting commercial projects, every video on this YouTube channel, and a bunch of stuff for Lumix. And I'm very excited to play around with a new camera ecosystem. I feel like anybody who's a fan of this channel knows that I shoot Sony, and that's because I do and have for literally the last like 10 years pretty much. And the reason why I shot Sony is, funny enough, I actually grew up with the person that headed the video marketing department. Like literally the person that did all the marketing for Sony cameras in Canada was my neighbor at the cottage. So since I was a wee little lad, I had access to Sony cameras. So I would play around with them on the weekends and go and shoot stuff. And once that became a serious hobby of mine, something that I actually pursued in school and wanted to actually build a business around, I reached out to my friend. I was like, hey, can I play around with some of those fancy Sony cameras you have? And so she let me use that. And then I started buying that gear. And I feel like we can all relate to this. The moment you buy more than 2 lenses, you're in with that camera company. It is very, very hard to switch, especially when it's Sony stuff, because like their lenses are like $3,000 or $4,000 a piece. And that is a very expensive change if you ever want to go to a new system. So I do not take this lightly. So when Lumix approached me that I could actually use their cameras for 3 months to get to actually know their systems with their camera that I've heard lots of great things about, I was like, 3 months? That seems like a really great time to actually learn a whole new ecosystem. So I've worked with a lot of other camera companies on this YouTube channel, but that's only ever been in like a review basis. So companies will send you a camera. You have 1 week to make a video about it, play with it, try to learn with it. But there's just not enough time to get intimate with a camera. That sounds so intense. But to learn the nuances of how to create with a camera. You get it, you play around with the menu system, and then you move on. And that just doesn't feel like enough time to get familiar with the whole ecosystem. I was a little worried at first because when you switch to a new camera system, it's kind of like when you're on vacation and you have to drive a new car, whether it be stick or like, you hit the gas pedal and it's faster than the car that you normally drive at home, or it's not as responsive as the car that you're used to. Like we have a system, we're dialed in, and now we're being thrown into a whole new camera ecosystem. But I like that. Once you iron out those little hiccups at the beginning, I think there's a lot of opportunity to create new things because each tool has its advantages and its disadvantages, and that helps create new types of art. Okay, so let's talk about the S5 and why this actually is a great little camera, because I would have never said yes if it wasn't good. So we have a 24.2 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor in it. It's got 422 10-bit internal recording. It shoots 4K 60 frames per second. It has killer IBIS. It has dual card slots in it. It has one of my favorite features, the flippy screen. Yes, every camera should have a flippy screen. Thank you, Lumix, for putting one on here. It's got really great weather sealing. It has a high resolution mode where you can actually turn the 24 megapixels into 96 megapixels by stitching all of them together, and they're still raw photos. That's pretty rad. And it has really good battery life. But some of the features to me that really stand out and what I really love about this camera is the IBIS. That is the feature that just blows every other camera out of the woodwork. You know, when you shoot with some of the cameras, like I experienced this at least with my Sony cameras, that when you're shooting 24 frames per second and you're trying to hold the camera, like how I went instantly vertical, oh, how the times are changing. Okay, so when you're shooting video, you ever notice that like little like micro jitter? Like when you see the footage and you blow it up afterwards, it kind of just looks like this, especially if the lens isn't stabilized. And like the 24 footage is like, it looks good, but you have to throw like a warp stabilizer on it. Out of the box, this camera has 5-axis image stabilization, and it is so good. And on top of it, it has E-stabilization, which is another layer of stabilization, so you can make it even better. And then they even have boost image stabilization, so that if you're in a pinch and you need a shot that more or less looks like a tripod, you could turn that on and get a very, very, very stable shot. But I like to use it just with the basic IBIS right out of the box, and it looks so good at 24 frames per second. That I will on record say, its stabilization, chef's kiss. So good. It has a really great log profile called Vlog, so we'll just switch to the Vlog profile right now, and let's switch it to our color corrected one. I don't know why I'm taking so long. It looks good. It also allows you to shoot 6K ProRes raw video if you combine this with an Atomos Ninja V, which is similar to what you would get out of a Red camera. This camera body is $1,700 on B&H right now. All of that is jam-packed into this little system. That's pretty rad. One of the things that I noticed about this camera that I really liked is the button placement. So you have your basic dials, f-stop and shutter, but if you hold down the ISO button right here and your white balance, you can quickly scroll while you're shooting to like increase your ISO or switch your color balance, or you have your exposure settings right there. That's really nice. You got your focus mode button right here, so you just tap that and you can quickly switch through everything because the screen is also touchscreen. So those are all really nice things in terms of workflow when you're shooting. You can change things very, very quickly. So on paper, all those specs sound really amazing. The price point is even more attractive. I'm going to call it out in full transparency. My only concern with this camera is that it uses contrast detect autofocus, and most other cameras use phase detect autofocus. And when you come from that system moving into a contrast detection autofocus, that worries me a little bit because there's some reliability issues there. Through my experience so far, the autofocus hasn't really been a hindrance, but again, I haven't used this camera for very long, so I have a more full-fledged opinion about that moving forward. So to end this all off, I remember watching a documentary. It was like one of those like rock bios from like one of the top bands. I can't remember what the band is, but let's call them AC Van Zeppelin. That's it. The lead guitarist from AC Van Zeppelin was talking about how when he went out and purchased guitars, he said that in every single guitar, there is a song in each and every single one of them, and you just got to go and find them. And that always really struck a chord with me because it gave me an excuse to go and buy more guitars without having to write songs. But I really just thought that was a cool idea, that there's a song in every single guitar out there. And in my opinion, I think there's a story in every single camera out there. And by switching camera systems, there might be new stories that come from this whole new setup. That was a little corny, but yeah, I hope you like that message. If you guys like this video, please press like. It actually makes a difference. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified for future videos. And most definitely catch you guys in the next one. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on me switching cameras. I'll see you in the comment section.
Tastes like Nikon.
Leaving Sony? I got water all, all over. I'm gonna regret this.
Who cares? I hate the internet.